And I think we should be live, and we are live with Cam Bagrie. And before we start, I got to say, so Cam Bagrie is on the Essential Talent roster. He is one of New Zealand's best economists. Well, in my opinion, the best economist. And he is always so bloody generous. He's been on TV today. He's been on radio today. And here he is after a massive day with the budget, talking to this idiot at 8 o'clock at night. So thank you, mate. I'm really, really grateful. I really appreciate it. So today, and before we get into this, you were very complimentary about the government's crisis management. I can recall this in the last couple of interviews that we've had. Today, you were quoted as saying, "It looks like borrow and hope." Talk me through what you mean by that.
Well, the government unloaded the big bazooka today. Yeah, they've taken their COVID response package up to about 62 billion. Now, about 40 billion of that has either been allocated or already spent, and they've got about another 20 billion left in the war chest. Now, The government needed to go big. Yeah, they needed to extend the wage subsidy, which they've done. Yeah, so they're making all the right sort of murmurings up to a point. But if I have a look at what we needed within this budget, I think we needed a bit of a story. The government's talking about a reset, a rebuild. If you look at the detail around that, or what's out there, it's loose as a goose. There's not a lot. I think there was a real opportunity here to sort of try to tell a bit of a story, and it wouldn't have been easy because things are moving pretty damn fast. Policy's changing, it's going up with each sort of passing day. But I think New Zealanders actually just needed a bit of a story. Well, where are you going, even if it's a partial one? Today, what did we see? We've seen an awful lot of borrowing. And the government's hope, their scenario is that's going to get the economy back up and running. And if I look at the Treasury's forecast and what's called a V-shaped recovery, it is not going to be a V-shaped recovery. It is borrowing. If you look at net government debt, it's going from about 65 billion to 200 billion in the next 4 years. In the next 12 months alone, the government is going to be borrowing $60 billion, $1 billion a week. Now, we can manage that. Debt servicing looks okay, but at some stage, we're going to have to pay that back. We either pay that back through less spending, higher taxes, or we get the economy doing an awful lot better. We create more jobs, people pay more tax. And what we saw today was a policy response, which is about keeping people in paid work, but it didn't really have a strong plan in regard to, well, where's New Zealand actually going? Where's a lot of that growth going to come from on the other side, beyond the government just borrowing a whole lot and hoping we're going to spend it?
So, say you had Grant Robertson's job, and that you had actually done the budget today, what would have been the three big headlines? How would you have? What is missing? How would you have tackled it?
I would have stepped back and thought about, well, what does New Zealand have that's unique? Different. New Zealand's actually a really wealthy country in regard to renewable resources. In fact, we're one of the wealthiest countries around the globe on a per capita basis. We've got areas of excellence in agriculture. We've got a big economic exclusive zone, so aquaculture could be, a lot of opportunities there as well. I've already been starting to sort of pull together, well, these are sort of, some of the things we're going to do in those sectors to really fire them up. And they don't have to be money-orientated things. One of the things I saw within the budget today was the Commerce Commission has been given a little bit of rats and mice, a little bit more money. Now, That's really good because they're going to have the ability now to undertake what's called market studies, which is a fancy word for going and having a look at industries and making sure we've got a bit of competition and consumers are not getting fleeced. Now, not costing a lot, but boy, could that deliver some real punch on the other side. Yeah, what I think they also needed to do was give us an idea about how we're going to get that borrowing back under control on the other side. What did we get? Well, the economy is going to take care of it. Well, I'm not convinced the economy is going to take care of it. That was hope as opposed to a defined strategy in regard to how we're going to pay back the debt on the other side, because I'm a taxpayer and I'm looking at this through thinking those numbers don't look flash to me. I think you're going to be hydraulicing taxes next year.
Really? What kind of level for the top tax rate, do you think?
Well, if I have a look at what happened in the 2000s, look, we had a 39 cents in the dollar bracket.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see something with the 4 in front of it for incomes in excess of 150,000, a little bit similar to what we did in Australia. But if you look at the process of fiscal repair, what's in the budget? It's got a couple of things. So the government in the past 3 budgets, excluding COVID, has been spending about what's called an initiative package every year of about 3 to 3.5 billion. What they're saying for the next 3 budgets, in fact, the next 10 budgets, they're going to take that down to 2 to 2.5. Well, I'm not sure I'm convinced they're going to take it down to 2.5 from what they've been doing in the past few years. So if you can't take that down and you're not getting strong growth out the other side to get tax revenue up, what's the other lever you got at your fingertips? You got to change tax rates.
Yeah.
Now, you
right.
certainly wouldn't be doing that or putting that on the table in a year where you got an election. But I think there's an inevitability about this out the other side. What happened after Christchurch, what happened after the GFC was that the previous government, their strategy was pretty clear. They decided to go really frugal in regard to spending.
Yeah.
By doing
and you know what? This was interesting because I thought this was cool from Grant Robertson today that he acknowledged Cohen, but he also acknowledged Bill English in his speech because, a lot of people have really given Bill English a lot of shit over the years, but if he wasn't so frugal, would we have been able to do this?
It was. Well, here's the problems. There's no free lunch. So what happened? After the GFC, and people forget about the hit we took from Christchurch as well. The government didn't have an awful lot of money at their fingertips. So what did that mean? The budgets became real frugal affairs. There wasn't an awful lot of money to throw at various investment projects, the maintenance of the schools, the maintenance of the hospitals. So we underinvested for a long time. But what did it allow us to do? It allowed us to sow the seeds and building up that war chest for the next rainy day. But this is we're going to face those exact same choices on the other side of this. Because we cannot continue to have debt spiraling up like it's going to in the next 2 years. Because what we've also got to face up to is that the population's aging.
Yeah.
So the cost of New Zealand's population is starting to move up really quickly as well. So we don't just have a cyclical temporary problem, we've got a structural problem coming on the other side as well. So you sit there, you think about, well, what can we do to make sure that make sure that debt burden is not a big problem for the next generation of taxpayers. The ideal one, the magical one we'd like to do, get a lot more growth, get this economy firing up. Now, the government's spending a lot of money, it's temporary. Ultimately, you need the growth to come from the private sector. So you've got to think about what are the conditions out there that can help the private sector to flourish and sort of carry more of the load. But at the moment, we're going to see a lot bigger government across this economy in the next few years.
So tell me this then, just on that. So as far as the wage subsidy goes to, getting put into tourism, and I think by memory there's something like 400 million or something like that's being pumped into tourism recovery.
Yeah.
And in my business, I'm kind of quite reliant on that because they have they have conferences and so forth, and I put my speakers there and all that kind of thing. But like, is that a good strategy? And I'm not trying to be unfair to people in tourism, so don't send me any hate mail, but I'm just asking the question. Is that a good strategy when actually a lot of them, it's inevitable that they're going to go broke, and it's nothing other than just really deferring unemployment numbers?
Yeah, well, if I have a look at that 400 million,
Yeah.
a chunk of that, I think, from memory, was to make sure we could protect what's called sort of more strategic assets.
Yes.
Right, to make sure they're still going to be around
Yeah.
for the future. I think a bit of it, there was a couple of new committees that have been formed as well. So we've already got a few of those across the country. So there's another couple. Look, yeah, obviously the tourism sector, hospitality in general, will draw down pretty heavily on that $3.2 billion extension on the wage subsidy.
Yeah.
But that wage subsidy's, it's 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, the hope that maybe after 10 weeks, we've reopened, we're starting to see signs of the domestic market starting to reopen. Yeah, maybe, we're going to be beyond July. We're going to get a bit of an idea about, those New Zealanders that used to travel overseas in July, well, maybe they redeploy their capital and they go on a domestic holiday in New Zealand. Because what used to go on was that, there'd be 4 million visitor trips into New Zealand from foreigners. And there'd be 3 million visitor trips out the other side. So there's 3 million potential visitor trips around the country. And the domestic market. So there is opportunities here to repitch. Probably the big one is Australia.
Yes.
Australia is, I think last year they're about 11 to 12 million what's called visitor trips from Australians, because of course, some people travel twice, 2, 3, 4 times. So it's not 11 million people that actually travel. But Australians typically head up to Indonesia. And I think they're going to want to head to Indonesia. If we can get that trans-Tasman bubble going, that could be a real lifeline as well. But we've got to think about, I came out in the media a few days ago and said, look, let's just think a little bit laterally. If we want to maximise the opportunity of the tourism sector, we've got to think about things such as shifting the school holidays. Let's not make them the same as the Australians, because you don't want all the Kiwis and the Australians clambering on Coronet Peak at the same time.
Yes, no, you mentioned that. You mentioned that in the last interview, which was, you're 100% right.
It's just little things that we need to be thinking about.
Yeah. How about the money spent on the horse racing? They threw some money at the horse racing. How does that all help us at the moment? I don't quite get that.
Oh, I'm scratching my head at that one.
Well, I'm just trying to work out how that fits in with everything. I don't. Yeah. Okay.
I'll give you another one.
Yeah.
New Zealand Post got to think about 150 million worth of new equity and 130 million worth of, I think, operational stuff as well. Why? Their business model has been disrupted, right? Because people are not sending mail anymore, so they're struggling. So what are we doing now? The taxpayer is subsidising some people getting their mail. Look, I don't need to get mail. Send it to me electronically. That's fine.
No, and I mean, the thing is, this sort of goes back to my earlier question. I mean, are we pumping some money into stuff that might help keep unemployment down and keep jobs, but it's sort of like, why would you pump money into something like New Zealand Post when we know that there's not much hope there? I don't know.
Well, it's not just that. You can, horse racing.
Sport, the horse racing. Yeah.
Sport is another one. In regard to, where do you draw the line? Because, everybody's got their handout. Now, some stuff is really obvious. Like if you look at Air New Zealand is a strategic asset, right? The government needed to support Air New Zealand.
Yeah.
Because without Air New Zealand, the downstream implications across the New Zealand economy are just unbelievably bad.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff, it's a no-brainer. You step up and you write the check. You just make sure that the taxpayer doesn't get fleeced. So what they did with Air New Zealand, they provided a loan, and it wasn't on what you call cheap terms. So they're protecting the taxpayer's interest. And I think there'll be other deals that'll need to get done in that regard as well. Other organisations, that are somewhat strategic in nature, but in some instances we're going to have to draw the line. And those are pretty
what's been the biggest thing in this budget where you've just shaken your head, going, "I just can't believe they did that"?
Probably the government,
because you've been very fair. You've been very fair to the government in other interviews that we've had. You've been very complimentary, and I need to stress this about their crisis management and so forth. But you have been, a bit vocal today on this budget, and I'm curious to know what's a couple of the really major things where you've just gone, that just doesn't make sense.
Well, if I have a look at today, the government, the budget documents were signed off a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
What they've also done in the past couple of weeks was that they've allocated another 19 odd billion as a next wave of COVID response initiatives. Now, some of the stuff is easy. We can identify it's the job extension of the wage subsidy. It's about $1 billion for some environmental based jobs and a bit of infrastructure. But the government did not have a page ready where we could go through and actually assess, well, what's actually in that 19 odd billion, which, by the way, is not a small amount of money. Now, apparently we're going to get that list on May the 22nd. Now, and I just sit there and I look at that, and that is decidedly peculiar, odd to me. You've allocated the money. Surely there must be a list there that can get given out on budget day.
Yeah.
Not a week later.
How about the 200 million for Maori?
Well, I think Maori got an awful lot more than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How much do they get? I thought it was about 200 million.
I thought I saw, it might have been Pacifica as well. I thought there was one of the press releases of up around 900 million from memory.
Thoughts on that?
Well, if you look at the statistics, or what we are going to see going forward as well, the unemployment rate in New Zealand is just above 4%.
It's going to go to about 8%, isn't
it? Across Maori is double that.
Yes.
If New Zealand unemployment rate is going to 10, which I think it is, then odds are the Maori unemployment rate is going to 20 plus.
Yeah.
Maori is at the bottom end of the statistics, and a lot of numbers where they don't want to be: educational attainment, housing, poverty, you name it. Now, the government does need to be flushing more money into that. I guess the issue is what's the right vehicle, and what's the vehicles that are going to give us results. What we know is that there's a big wave of people that are losing their jobs at the moment, that are becoming unemployed, and they tend to be the younger generation. The kids aged 16 to 19, 20 to 24. That's where you don't see unemployment of 10 to 20%. You see it in those age brackets around 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want that proportion of kids wandering around with nothing to do. So then you start to think about how can we keep them in school? What are training institutions we can put them into? The government came out today. There's a lot of money going towards getting people into apprenticeships. Personally, I would have probably just made that a direct subsidy to the employer, encourage them to take the employee on as opposed to through another institution. But the money's still getting pushed out.
So I've got two sons. They are, and I know that's hard for you. When they are sort of in their 20s and they're out there working, and they better be, what kind of tax rate could they be paying in their 20s and 30s, you think? Is it going to get absolutely ridiculous, or will it be sort of around 40%, do you think? Or like, any thoughts on that?
Depends what sort of money they're making, of course.
Yeah.
Right?
They'll be money, don't you? Right? They'll be economists.
Yeah, so it's pretty obvious to me that, the
They'll be
people
making
that are
great
going to
money.
be asked to pay more
Oh, he's frozen. Are
are
you
going to be
there?
people that have got a bit more.
Yeah.
You're there, you're going in and out.
Closing thoughts on this budget, and then I'm going to let you go. Hey?
Oh,
Closing thoughts on this budget before we go.
it hits the mark in regard to they've done the right thing, leaning off the government balance sheet. But yeah, there's no real strategy, right? It's built on hope, and hope's not a strategy. I think we need to start to see a lot more strategy.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, you're always so generous with your time. Thank you, mate, because I know that you've had a big day today and there's been a lot of requests from media and so forth. And I need to send you something from Central Otago in a bottle. And to thank you for being so generous over the last few weeks with your time. So thanks very much.
All the best and have a good evening.
All right, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
So that's Cam Bagrie. Such a nice guy. He is he did a good job on TV1 today, I thought. He does a great job on 3 as well, and he copped a bit of flack from a few people today, which I thought was a little bit unfair, because he always calls it how he sees it. He's not one of these guys that just chucks stuff out there for. He doesn't have his own political agenda or anything. He just, he throws out what he thinks. He's an economist, and so he looks at it and like when when I asked him the other day about the crisis management, he was a really smart guy. So, in saying that, and here's a little pitch here from me, is that if you're in business and you want to know how the next couple of years doesn't need to cost a lot of money. He's not a greedy guy, and we can give he can customize something for your industry, for your sector, and he can hop online and he can tell you how talent.co.nz. We're doing webinars. We're now going to get back into some live site. Is that you could have an event in Auckland, for example, with 100 people, but you've got other people around the country. So what do you do? Other markets around the country, whether it's Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin, where you've got small groups. So there's a whole lot of different options here. So I thought that was so good from Cam tonight. I really enjoyed that. I love these interviews with around Roger Beaumont the other day, which we might post again. Roger is the CEO of the New Zealand Bankers Association. Great guy. Been friends for well over 25 years. Top bloke. All night. I hope. Has it been, well, level 2? It's day 1 of level 2. I spent an hour and a half today. I'm not kidding you. An hour and a half in a queue to get this, clippers. Saved a lot of money. But that was kind of cool. And do you know what was really funny? Is that I was in this queue for an hour and a half, and everybody, strangers, were talking to one another. I couldn't believe it. Just chatting away, laughing. We were having a good old time. It was a lot of fun. I didn't have a bit of fun. I've just always done that. But and a lot of people just look at me like, you freaking dick, and I don't expect that to change. But I just thought, like, today there was just something a little bit different. People, and I just thought that was wonderful. I thought that was really, really cool. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, Cam Bagrie. Who have we got coming up? Well, let's have a think. Well, I'll tell you who I'd like to have come up. A friend of mine. Just, wow, amazing what he has done for New Zealand music. So I'm hoping that he'll agree to have a chat. Who else can we talk to? Might talk to Joseph Parker again. I'd love to speak to Joseph and have a chat to Joseph. So yeah, Mike Chun, Joseph Parker, my friend Chris Williams. So Chris Williams is a really great friend of mine. It's really funny because he's a client of mine, he's a business partner, and he's a really great friend. He writes musicals. He's actually an advertising man, has been a very successful advertising man for many years. But he's written 3 musicals. I think he's done about 4 or 5 albums. But I'm going to have a chat to him about the process of writing a musical, because that's quite unique. I think that could be a bit of something. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed our budget special. Thanks, Cam Bagrie. Such a generous guy. Always so generous. Oh, now I get the comments. I get the comments, Cameron, if you want to point of difference. You create an extraordinary point of difference that would make New Zealand the producer of the greatest and safest, pure and natural food in the world. We then tie that into a global marketing strategy that captures our other unique. He's in hospital. I think he had the knee operation today. And his wife, Megs, works with me at Essential Talent. Thank God she works with me at Essential Talent. She's so brilliant. So brilliant. Megs, just the best. So Roscoe's asking some question that I've missed it, Roscoe. It's all over. I know you're in your hospital bed going, this will be good. I'll put that. I've just only seen the comment now, Roscoe. I'm sorry. Anyway, got to go. Got to